Oftentimes, students struggle with completing a written assignment, such as a term paper like the competency thesis or the capstone project paper. Part of the difficulty is not knowing what the purpose of the written assignment is. Hence, after reviewing the description of the assignment and the instructions provided by your instructor, students need to determine or ask themselves, what is the purpose of the paper I'm writing? Typically, there are 8 different purposes for writing a scholarly paper for graduate school. This video will provide a brief description of those purposes, and note that any given written assignment may have multiple purposes. All right, so let's begin. The first purpose of a written assignment or a thesis or major project paper is summarizing, and summarizing concisely, because being concise in terms of APA style is necessary, and it's summarizing the main points of a given topic. Okay, so summarizing would be one of the purposes. The next purpose is defining or explaining the meaning of concepts. For example, what does it mean to be strength-based? Or what is the concept of demonstrating ethical and professional behavior? And what does it mean, for example, to be culturally responsive to the clients that we work with in rural settings? Another purpose is analyzing. In other words, analyzing a given topic into parts and examining how the parts work together or interact. So really picking apart, for example, if you were examining the Code of Ethics by NASW, our national organization, how do each component fit with each other? So you want to analyze its entirety, but you need to break it down into different parts. Another purpose is persuading. Now, this is somewhat confusing for students because you don't want to persuade in terms of getting your reader to accept maybe, quote, your biases, but persuading is offering support for a point of view, and it's based on the literature. We can't forget that in terms of scholarly writing, we're not writing from our personal biases, but we need to make sure that whatever we are, quote, persuading in terms of a point of view offers support from the literature. And when I refer to the literature, really means the peer review journal articles that you would be reading for graduate school. All right. The next purpose of a major written assignment is reporting or examining all the evidence on a topic. Again, very similar to what I just covered in terms of persuading, but the reporting piece kind of leaves out the judgment, but it's really reporting the various points of view, not just one side. And when we talk about all evidence, again, it's not just one point of view, but it's sharing the different points of views from the different authors in terms of the literature that you're reviewing. All right, so the other purpose is evaluating or explaining the criteria for how you came up with reporting or examining the quality of information that you've read in the literature review. Again, evaluating, you have to be very careful that it's not opinion-based and it's not biased, but again, making sure that you explain all of the evidence. The next purpose of a major written assignment is discussion. Paper will consider the many points, main points of a given topic. In the discussion, not only do you want to explain or need to explain the main points of a topic, you also want to write about the implications of that topic. Like, what are the implications for demonstrating ethical and professional behavior in terms of working with clients, in terms of working with other social workers or with the community. And then part of the discussion is also looking at the relationship with other topics. And again, if you were to look at the 9 core competencies in social work, they all kind of relate to one another. It builds on each other. In other words, in order to be ethical, you have to also engage in research. You also have to engage in policy practice. And so you want to make sure that you make those connections with the various concepts in your paper. And finally, the last purpose of a term paper is interpretation, or explaining the meaning or implications of a topic. Again, interpretation is balanced with making sure you look at all the evidence. So the part that interpretation is really important is being able to use your voice to articulate how you understand the information from what you've gathered and what you've read in terms of the literature to make meaning, to be able to demonstrate your understanding of a given topic. As opposed to, and making sure, again, looking at all the evidence and not just your interpretation from your biases or your own personal experience. Again, graduate school is tying in information from the literature, from experts in the field. So that's the 8 major purposes of writing a thesis or major paper in graduate school. And again, you need to take into consideration which of the 8, for example, will fit in terms of the paper that you're writing. Keep in mind again that any given assignment may have multiple purposes for why you're writing this paper. To understand again the purpose of why you're writing the paper will help you to then get centered in terms of what you'll be writing about. That's a quick video on, again, the purpose of writing a written assignment in graduate school.